they can keep operating there. But there's plenty of the bandits for them. But there you go, they do like their decimal 620 and decimal 618. And both of them can cause slight problems to us, and we can cause slight problems to them when they set up there. Anyway, there you go. Yes. That's why I suggested, Brian, the multi-connector on the universal power supply. You wouldn't have to sort out rig. Connections had to be made. They'd be automatically made when you plug it in. But the more I think of it, the more I think you'd need some pretty complicated multi-pin connectors.
I wouldn't think so.
You're certainly not going to get away with optical connectors, because not only have you got different HT voltages, you've got different bias voltages, you've got multiple HT voltages, you've got different heater voltages, and it goes on and on, doesn't it? So yeah, not really practical, but it was a good idea. I thought of it, and I came to the conclusion that it just wasn't worth the effort. And yes, yeah, when I made that comment on iron, I particularly was, for some reason, looking up the Parmeco Neptune series of transformers, the potted ones in oil, and they make silly money. I didn't mean silly money. I picked these up for somewhere between £1 and £5 at Radio Rally still, yet these guys are selling them for a couple of £100. I don't joke, it's £200 for a transformer basically that isn't particularly special. You see that when you've got high currents at high voltages, but these weren't. Silly money, and people are paying postage on top of it as well. There you go. But as I said to Martin the other day in an email, I just don't get amazed by that particular auction site prices anymore. They always seem to me to be out of kilter. The only time they're cheap is if I'm selling something on eBay. But that's not necessary. So I've actually made some good money through getting some of my old junk shifted in the past. It's just a bit of a hassle, especially if it's big and heavy. And we're not in an ideal location to have collection only. And that is the problem I got with all these model aeroplanes. They're not the sort of thing, I was talking about this the other day. There's no way you can post a model aeroplane. It's just impossible to wrap it up. Especially some of the large ones. It's got to be collected, and then what's more, it's got to be collected by somebody that's got a decent sized vehicle to pack it in. And you've got a 9-foot wingspan aeroplane, alright, the wing comes off, it still means a 4-foot panel and a big fuselage. So there you go. Anyway, I'm going on. 7-3 to you, Trevor. Good to hear you on this morning. And hopefully we'll catch you tomorrow. Well, we're very thin on the ground. I'm very surprised. Les had to go earlier. I don't know if you know it was on Brian, but he had to go for a MOT on one of his vehicles. Car keeps on now telling me it needs a service. The trouble with these modern cars is it's sloppy. Every time you switch them on, it says it's time for maintenance. So that'll cost again. And at 6 o'clock this morning, it cost me £155 tax for the thing. And get it ready to road for another year. There you go.
Room in the car, you know, a tall with a dog in the back, plus the buggy, and then the kids are in their car seats, in the back seat. So the only room for storing things is really the back seat on the floor, you know, behind the driver and front passenger. No more room in the boot, you know, ridiculous. So hence this enormous bloody roof box. It's about 6'6" long. It's a bit cumbersome, you know. and they've got the fuel roof racks, you know, the bars, they're already on the car, and you just lift this thing up, and there are sort of shoes that clamp onto the bar, and you just tighten them up, I think, with just a click, and that's it, you know. But they certainly need a ladder, I would think. I suppose if they open the door and stood on the sill, they'd be able to reach into it, but that's where all the goodies are going to go. John, back to you.
Yeah, I had another thought as well with these roof boxes. You know, these town centre car parks, some of them have got the height bar, haven't they? The height restrictor bar. I wonder if it would go under that here, though.
One Charlie, Mike, Whiskey, Cleary. Talk to you tomorrow morning.
Okay, Roger, Santry, have a good day, mate.
Okay, mate, cheers.
Yeah, I'm sorry, John, I didn't get that question.
Yeah, I was saying, as they've got a very high vehicle to begin with, when you put the roof box on the top of it, I don't know if you've noticed, but on most town centre car parks, there's a height restrictor bar. I wonder if it will still fit under that bar, over.
That's a very good point, actually. Yeah, I don't think they'd be going in any car parks, but yeah, good point. Yeah. Actually, I ought to ask them, see if they can get me some real creosote. You know, the old-fashioned stuff, because you can buy that in the farmer's shops. It's got a big X on it. It's not this new fangled water-based rubbish, you know. It's the real coal tar stuff. I think they sell it in 2.5, 5, and 30-litre barrels, I think, and I wouldn't mind a 2.5 litre. It's quite useful for, you know, soaking the bottom of fence posts and things, but I usually add a bit of engine oil to it as well. Mix it all up, John.
Oh, yeah. Funnily enough, I was walking in that farm shop the other day, I noticed they were selling a creocoat, not creosote, of course, but it didn't seem to be too expensive, Ed. I can't remember the price. It wasn't that dear, Ed,
Oh, right. Okay. All right. Right. Well, I'm going to send a message to Susie and say, have you asked the farmhouse, you know, that run this place, can they supply you with 2 high chairs? Because it'll save them taking theirs down and stripping all down, you know. Yeah, I might do that. Okay, mate, I'm going to pull the plug, so I'll catch you all in the morning.
Okay, have a good day, Ed. 7-3 from me.
Cheers, Aid, from M1ERD.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, cheers to you all. Have a good day.
Told you, are you still there? I need a quick word.
Go ahead, Charles.
Yes, what I was trying to find out from Adrian, or anybody would be able to tell me, is how much coupling is Adrian getting into his loop, because it's very small. How much is it, and it works very well, how much coupling would he be getting from his main dipole? I mean, what I want him to do is to burst the dipole and still give me the performance on the loop. But do you think it's getting coupling?
No, he isn't getting any coupling, Charles. The loop's totally in a different place, and it goes through his receive parts. So as far as I'm aware, he wouldn't be getting any coupling at all from me, Charles. Over.
Yeah, okay. I'm pretty good at mechanics. I can easily. I wouldn't use alloy. I'd use copper tubing. So I'm going to have a go at making one and get one of the more savvy people from the club locally here to get me the decent amplifier to go with it. What do you think to that? Am I doing the right thing, making it and then getting the amplifier?
Yeah, if you buy the amplifier built, apparently there's an art to building amplifiers for loops and that, and you've got to, you know, it's not just buying your kit and building an amplifier. You could run into problems. So apparently there's a guy. I know there's. I think John actually. I thought Dave had got it from Italy, Dave up in Stratton, but he didn't. It's wherever John said. I remember that now. One of the Eastern Bloc countries. And apparently his amplifiers are very good and they're very reasonably priced too. Charles, over.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's it. I shall make a fairly big. I put Adrian just to be a about a metre or less across. I think there'd be some advantage in building the loop probably at 2 metres at least. What do you think?
I would certainly build it larger if I could, you know. I've got the copper pipe here for it, and, you know, it's quite flexible. So I would probably build it bigger than that, than the metre across, but that's just me. I mean, you can always build big and drop it down to a metre if it doesn't work bigger, Charles, over.
No, I'd go for 2 metres at least, 2 metres diameter at least, yeah. I don't want to keep you because you've been on, but do you know I took my dipole down and I'm using a loaded vertical. Did you know that?
Yeah, you said about it. You're using a different aerial now, which is nowhere near as good, Charles. I can barely copy you now at the moment.
Yeah, but that's conditions today. I would say on average it is almost as good over a period of time. Okay, I know you're going M3CPA signing with M1ERD.
Yep, okay, Charles. Yes, yeah. Cheers for now then.
Yeah, I'm afraid you'll never convince me that the Vertigo would give you a better reception than a dipole, Charles.
Well, thank you for that. No, I much appreciate your comments. But why do I receive similar results then? Why am I receiving similar results?
At the end of the day, Charles, providing you're getting out and you're receiving okay, that gives you a reasonable degree of satisfaction, I should imagine. And that that is all that we're trying to achieve, isn't it? So if you're satisfied with what you got, I mean, it's like, my antenna here, which is a Whiskey 3DZZ trap dipole that is often ridiculed by Gary. I'm perfectly satisfied with it, and I always like to raise the point that I don't have to use SDR to receive. So, swings and roundabouts, you do what you feel happy with.
Okay, Colin, yes, and the Isle of Wight 2 or 3-day trip is still on. I'll have the family with me and other people as well. There'll be about 4 or 5 of us. So for me, just personally, it'll be a quick visit your way just to see your antennas. And I'll let you know when that's going to be, Colin.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough, Charles. Feel free to turn up and I'll willingly supply you with tea or coffee.
Okay, Colin, M3CB signing.
Okay, well, it's 5-2 now. I think I'll pull the switch as well and catch you all in the morning and bid any shortwave listeners a very good day. And I should imagine, Roger the Ghost, that you might have all received us all better than what you did yesterday. Cheers, everybody.
Yeah, cheers, Colin. Just checking if I've got it. Yeah, I'll pull the plug as well, and then we can discuss the possibility of a £27,000 2-week holiday, Colin. We'll do that tomorrow. This is GW0AGZ near Oswestry, wishing everyone 7 threes and also a Roger the Ghost. Cheers all, and round to Paul Duke.
Yeah, okay, John. Yeah, I'm going to make a move go indoors now, so I'll say 7-3 to you, John, and you, Colin, and speak to you all in the morning. And cheers to Roger the Ghost as well. This is M1ERD, no QRT.
Cheers, Ed.
John. Oswald 3.
Yes, Charles, I'm still here, just about.
Yeah, I don't pronounce it as you would. I say Oswald Thras, because Oswald was evidently he was the main man in the area a long time ago, Oswald, and he lived on the Thras. Give me a weather forecast. I'm always interested in weather your area. What have we got? Clear skies, much cooler. Let me see, last night it was 20 in and 11 degrees outdoors at 11 o'clock. 20 indoors, 11 degrees outdoors at 11 p.m. What's it like with you?
Well, I can't give such a detailed report as yourself, Charles, but at the moment we have a blue sky with some light-coloured clouds in the distance, and the sun is shining, and I think it's about 14, something like that, possibly 15. So, we've been forecast for the odd shower. Charles, it's dry, but we had a very heavy shower about 4 a.m. this morning, but that only lasted a couple of minutes. So there you go, Charles. So it is deteriorating, but it's okay at the moment. Anyway, I'm going to have a coffee now, Charles. Lovely to hear you, and we'll catch you tomorrow. 73 GW0AGZ.
73s. We had the same thing at 6 o'clock last night.
Very good. Have a good day, Charles. 73.
Roger, Roger.
Oh, j'espère que ça va bien. Ton report, t'es quasiment 59.
Calculation, it goes back to you then, Ian. We had Justin on a few days back, but I think he's on call now and said that he wouldn't be on the air for about a fortnight, which is a pity, but that's the way it goes. G6 TVJ, M1 PBC.
M1 PVC, G6 TVJ returning. Yep, okay there then, Paul. Yeah, all copied. Lovely signal, actually. You're good 20 over 9 this morning. So nice strong signal. That DX100 sounding really nice, actually. I was listening to Andy's very weak with me, only about S9, but I was listening on the G4FPH, and he's a good signal there, but only about S9 on G4FPH. But of course that's a good signal on that one. But you were only about the same as well. You're only about S9 on it as well. But here you're very strong. But there we are. Yeah, finally your comments on poor old Justin. Yeah, I think he's quite busy next couple of weeks. I was listening to you guys briefly yesterday. I was working yesterday, so I had to get a train to Cardiff, so I didn't listen for very long. But I was whilst I was having my breakfast, I just thought to come up in the shack, eating my toast, and switch on the receiver and have a listen to the breakfast show. So I'm sure that other people do that as well. I'm sure your audience is perhaps bigger than you might sometimes imagine. But there we are. And I was interested you were talking about connectors. Yeah, with all this valve high voltage, since you have to choose them perhaps a bit more carefully. I must admit, a lot of my projects, I use these things from Radio Spares called QM connectors, and they're basically a bayonet lock multi-pin connector that you can get in different sizes, but they're made themselves are made of plastic, so they're quite good for high voltage stuff. And of course, you insert the pins. So if you wanted to make a high voltage connector, and you were worried about it flashing over and stuff, then you just space the pins out and don't use all the holes for the pins. I've got this. What I'm speaking to you on now is two completely separate mains powered units, a modulator and a transmitter, and they're interconnected with a cable that connects the mod transformer to the transmitter, and that uses QM connector. That's only got 3 pins for the high voltage and a ground pin, but I do put a couple of little terminals actually, and I put a grounding wire between the chassis. I do that with all my projects. I've got other transmitters with external power supplies, and so I put a bonding wire on a couple of little terminals just to be sure, because you can't take chances with this sort of stuff. But if you're looking for aircraft connectors, there is a company I can recommend called Servo Connectors, and they sell all the Amphenol connectors, and I think they may even sell some of the perhaps some more not so old Plessy connectors, but a company called Servo Connectors. I've always got quite a good price out of them for a lot of the Amphenol style, those sort of military connectors. It's a better value than perhaps the usual suspects of that sort of thing. So there we are. Not myself to add really. The weather here is not very good in Bristol. We got some rain. It's actually not raining at the moment, but the ground's wet. I was hoping to possibly go to Wimborne. It's the Wimborne rally on Sunday, the flight refuelling rally, which I've been to that one last few years. It's been quite good, but the weather forecast for Sunday's not very good, so I'll keep an eye on that and perhaps make a decision over it tomorrow. But there we are. Anyway, waffling on a bit. I'll pass it back. I think it was Andy after me, so if you're still there, Andy, over to you. G4OJY from G6TVJ.
Yes, G6TVJ, G4OJY, so all okay there, Ian, all covered with phase distortion at times, but on the whole, readability fine there. I'm struggling a little bit with me there. So I'll probably made it on the last over anyway there. And yeah, okay, on the connectors as well, yes, I've used quite a few of those Amphenol connectors in the past for avionics type stuff, but I always found them extremely fiddly to wire up, and they are very expensive. It's a real struggle to do it really, and do a good quality job, so
Yeah, okay, Peter, well, sorry to hear about the cold. I was sniffling earlier on this morning. I went through 2 tissues almost immediately, and I was snuffling and what have you. But, oh, by the way, are you coughing okay? Do you want me to put the amplifier on because it's warmed up and ready?
Well, you can if you like. I mean, you're 7, but my noise is ridiculously low here. I always hear the other guys, complaining about noise levels and having to use the SDRs. I never use the SDR, the web SDR. And the noise level, if you just hang on a second or two, I'll tell you, but it's lower than 3. And even here, and down on the Morsey end, it's even low. So, I don't need much of a signal. But yes, I apologise for yesterday, Frank. You were up and down into QRM, so I missed out some of the words, some of the letters, totally. Just disappeared. So I knew you were talking about your daughter, but I couldn't quite figure out what you were saying. I got it, obviously, by email. But hopefully it wasn't too upsetting yesterday. Back to you.
No, it wasn't too bad. She was a little bit upset, but not too bad at all. Right, I'll just stand by, Peter.
Okay. So you're 7 right now, and the background noise is... Actually, it's 5. If I told a fib, it's 5. But, yeah, it's interesting. I had the same experience, Frank, it's a couple of years ago now. Yeah, while you're warming up, I'll carry on chattering. So, my daughter-in-law, not daughter-in-law, I don't know what to call her really, I think I just call her Jo anyway. She had a black cat, and then she brought home another kitten, and the black cat felt put out, I think, and it was a house cat, it never went out. And this kitten and he, they got on quite well. He was a he and she was a she. But one day Alex was having a shower. When he came out of the shower, the cat was lying on the floor, comatose, where he's dead, and in the ensuite. So he left it there and went to work. And then when Jo woke up to get ready, because she worked shifts, the cat was dead on the floor. So she called me very distraught, and I had to go around and sort it out. But you got to rigor mortis, so I had to dig quite a big hole for this blooming thing because its tail was straight out. It wasn't very nice to pick it up and stuff. But shame really that these things have to happen, but that's what life's about, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all life and death, isn't it, Peter? Yeah, but the daughter had put the little cat inside a cardboard box. So there was no messing around to be done. She'd done all that. Sorry, my voice is a bit gruff this morning. I've only had 1 cup of coffee and I've not had any of my DX audio suites. But yeah, the trouble is the cardboard box was actually quite big. And she'd sealed it up and everything, so it's a good job I dug quite a big hole. I spent quite a while digging quite a deep hole. And I put a stone on top of the box and filled it in, and I suggested she buy a rose bush. So I think they're going out today to a garden centre and they're going to plant a little rose on top of this poor little cat, Peter.
Well, that's nice. We did a similar thing. Well, I planted it in my son's garden, and he has virtually no soil at all. But they got a raised bed around the edge, and we used that. Otherwise, I couldn't get down far enough. Anyway, the garden's full of, it's crossed by lots of sewer pipes. I think there's lots of waste pipes and things across the garden. You can see where they run this weather because of the drought we've had. So there we go. So, yeah. I found lots of interesting and beautiful keys online. I've been looking for various ones. I just have to send you some I'm sure you've seen them anyway, but some lovely keys. That instruction leaflet was from one of the Spanish websites from a few years ago. The guy's passed away now, unfortunately, but he made absolutely beautiful keys. And they were less than $100, but they were keys and keyers and all sorts. And 2 or 3 basic designs. But he had, on the keyers, he had olive wood paddles. And on the keys, he was using rosewood and all. Very nice. It's worth a look on those. I'm trying to remember, there was one particular type of wood he used, which looked really, really interesting. And different shaped knobs and things. But, you can pay hundreds of dollars for these flipping things. But the German one, it's like Schillimann or something like that. Beautiful brass key, but actually very simple. It doesn't have a rear adjustment. It had like a bridge assembly, like an upside down bridge assembly, with the stop in there. And his contact was, I could see it underneath. It was a relay contact mounted on a piece of perspex underneath his brass bar. But there was about $300 or something. That's brand new, that is. That's just now. I should have to find that for you and send it to you. You could copy those designs. But if you wanted a lighter weight lever, that would be very simple, wouldn't it? You didn't have to make it out of brass. And it doesn't have to be solid, really, does it? I think the American designs are all fairly much lighter. And so forth. I suppose you could make a piece out of Paxilin or something like that. I've got some Paxilin downstairs. I might have a little look at that. Make a totally Paxilin Morse key.
Well, you could, but it would look like Paxilin, wouldn't it? I think that there's something about brass, isn't there? It's a lovely material to work with, and it looks quite nice as well after you've made it. But I was thinking of just comparing the Kent key with this GPO one. There must be about 5 or 6 times the mass in the lever, we'll call it a lever, than this one. And you just don't need that. It's a light duty contact, isn't it? You're not switching amps. It just needs to be comfortable. And I don't see any reason why it can't be very light. You don't need damping, do you? Because it's sprung loaded. So I just thought, well, maybe if I got some 1/4-inch brass stock and made the lever out of that and what have you, and a simple bearing, and I was looking at those tattoo bits and pieces for the contacts. Well, they're 4mm threaded brass with a knurled end and a silver contact on the end. So, 2 of those, and that's a contact, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I made my little keyers for the Pixie using the relays, the levers from the relays. Or, the whole thing. I just took because they're nice. I think they're phosphor bronze with a contact in the end. But the relays they're fairly simple things. The fixed contacts seem to be made on a piece of brass, which is silver plated, or it might be tin plated. I don't know. It's a silver colour. And then you've got the gold contact welded into the end, as you know. And I've been using those. They're quite good. And there's, of course, no mass at all in those. But you can't hold it. It's no knob to hold. You just have to tap it with your finger. But it works okay. I'm sure it's going to be fine for what I want. I mean, I'm not going to try to be breaking any speed records. I'm not really interested in doing speed stuff. As a matter of fact, a couple of times I was trying to use the Kia this morning. I thought I'd have a go with a couple of overs with the Kia. And I got it set at, I think it's 15 words a minute. But it's too easy to send too many dips, particularly the dips. The dashes I can cope with it. I can control those. But this morning I couldn't control the dips. Hence the DDD and the extra dit at the beginning. But most of the time I'm going to stick with the key because it's so much simpler. But when I get those touchpads, there's all sorts of things I can... Oh, there's one... I'm trying to think who it is. I think it's... excuse me if I'm wrong. I think it's AHD keys. They're made in Japan. And by God, they're complicated. And he's quite into making keys, or sorry, keys and keys, particularly keys. But they make the dips, and it's the old-fashioned. I think it's a bug, isn't it, where they use a weight on the end of a bar, sort of oscillating, to make the dips and the dars, sort of mechanically. Should we say automatically then? But they're not. But I just thought they were nice to look at, but really dustbin material, really, because these days you can use an electronic keyer. But he uses he has always two designs, one with and one without an electronic switch. So he's using optical switches in some of his designs, and I guess he's just waving a little flag in front of the aperture. But gosh, they're about $400 or $500 each, and way over the top. I measured the current my transceiver takes to key it, and it's about 600 microamps. I was going to send it by Morse, but too many numbers and too many letters. And of course I measured the voltage across, and it's 3 volts. So that's all you got to switch.
Yeah, it is the Rolex syndrome, isn't it? I mean, but to be honest, I do like nice things as well. I can't afford them, but I do like things to look nice, like that. But I think this Kent key, it's gonna end up on the mantelpiece, you know, as a decoration. I've already started work on the nice new base for it, because the base looks so shabby. I'm sure yours is better from what you've said, but it just looks so shabby. It's not damaged at all, and I've re-varnished it, but the grain structure on the wood is very, very coarse and open. And I've got this piece of mahogany already cut now, got it to exactly the right thickness and size for the base, so I'll persevere with that and replace it with that. And it's probably just going to be an ornament, which is a shame, really. But yeah, these optical ones, so you can get overly complicated, can't you? But I don't think I'm going to go for that at all. What I was trying to do yesterday during the day is I found some fairly slow Morse to listen to, and I was just sat back listening to it and trying to, without writing anything down. And I could follow a bit of it, but the interesting thing was they were talking about Kent keys. And he was saying he'd done a modification, but he put, the way he phrased it was spring contacts on the Kent key. He didn't elaborate any further, but I just wonder whether there's any mileage in having some form of giving a contact rather than, solid rigid contact. I don't know whether it'd be worth it. Try it, it just wouldn't work. MW0.
I suppose it would work. I suppose I'm looking at mine now thinking, I suppose I could put a spring-mounted contact just in one side, really. So in awesome. Because I've now modified my spec contact holder, and so I shan't be changing that. But I don't quite see why you do it. I suppose once you've made the contact, you've got a bit more, you can press the key down further, but that will surely slow you down. And I suppose the spring would come up and stop instantly, but if you're going very fast, any sort of, because the spring doesn't stop instantly, does it? It sort of boing, it depends on the length, of course. But I just thought I was going a bit too far. But, the relay contacts do have that little bit of give. I'm not going to plug mine in to use it just now, but we're getting very nerdy about all this, you realise. Although I found some marble. I've got a block of Delrin, which is about 2 inches thick. Now, I could make one out of that, I suppose. But did you realise the American keys are lower and flatter to the desk than the British keys? The British keys have got to be higher for this, because the Americans like their wrist on the table job, don't they? You can see I've been reading far too much. But it's a shame those Spanish keys aren't still available. They're beautifully made, and you can get combination keys and keyers. So he does a keyer, and he doesn't do IKEA, but he does keyers, and he does keys and various designs. And then you can buy a combo, so it's got a key and a key on the same brass base, and different combinations of those. But quite a few of them are gold plated, 18 karat gold plated, and they're absolutely beautiful. Now they would look nice on the mantelpiece. Wouldn't mind one of those.
Yeah, but you wouldn't need to use it on radio. That picture you sent me looked quite good. Now I've got no idea of scale of that one, but the key just looked to be fairly small. Does that look to you fairly small on the picture you sent of the Italian thing?
Yeah, Spanish. I can send you that link. I found there's an American website. I think it's called Morse Express or something. If you look into that, you've got all sorts of stuff. He's selling a lot of different kinds of keys. And I found they've got some old brochures, Swedish brochures, German brochures, Juncker keys and that sort of thing. But I found that brochure on there, and I read it and thought, oh, that's funny. I thought Frank would like that.
Well, it looks a nice key. I don't know about the rest of it. I wouldn't bother with the rest of it, but I get the impression that that's a light key, and that's kind of something that I was thinking about. If I could get some quarter-inch square brass section, I think that would be more than adequate for the lever, don't you?
I think it would. I think as long as you don't... Well, the thing is, you want the lever to be rigid, so it doesn't sort of bend, but you want it to be not too heavy, I should think. I imagine you could get some from B&Q or something like that locally. I'm sure you could get a lump of brass from somewhere. The hard thing is to make the bearings in the middle, I think. And again, I think the Kemkes, in that respect, it's a bit of overkill, because I don't think you really need that. I mean, after all, the key only moves a fraction of a millimetre or so, isn't it? Or less. I mean, actually in the middle, hardly anything at all. And quite a few of these designs, they put the bearing right at the end of the key, and then the spring is, between the bearing and you, with your fingers, with the contact somewhere along. And well, logically, that's a more sensible thing, because the piece of brass, the other side of the lever, has no effect whatsoever on the switching mechanism. It's just where they hold this. It's just the way it is. This is the old. They call it the old Morse design, don't they?
Yeah, I think Morse keys are traditionally pivoted in the middle because of I can't even say it, telegraphic use. I think they did on wired telegraphy systems. I think they did use both contacts, and they did something like reverse the polarity between key up and key down and things like that. So that's why there's a third contact on the key, and that's why they're balanced in the middle. But like you say, there's no reason why they have to have the bearing in the centre. But I mean, just from an aesthetic point of view, I think I would have the bearing in the centre. But you're right, you don't need these massive ball rate, well, massive, you don't need ball rate bearings. Something like a nylon bearing, I think it would just last forever, wouldn't it?
Well, you just need a pin, I think, a steel pin through a brass. That would be fine. I mean, you've only got to mind you want it to be not wobbly. You want it to be rigid side to side, and you don't want it to wobble around and stuff. But I'm sure you could make it. I mean, the American keys, they use a very simple system, but that's all adjustable. And I don't know. Anyway, as I say, we're getting very nerdish about all this. What can I say? I've completely lost now. Yeah, I ran out of words this morning. I don't know why. I just seem to a bit dozy. I think it's the little capsule I've taken, but there we go. But gosh, we had a lot of rain last night, but not quite as much as in the south of France. Did you see the campers had washed out?
No, I didn't. I missed that. So they've had a little bit more, and I think we're going to get some more today as well, Peter.
Well, that's good. We need it. And in fact, the top of our garden, underneath where my antenna is, our garden is sort of it's an odd shape. If you look online, you'll probably, if you look on Google, you can see our shape. It's a long, narrow garden, but the top of the garden, at the back, it goes up to a point, and the fence sits along the top of a bank about 5 foot high. And right in the corner, she decided to plant it up. Well, there are some trees up there, and I use that to anchor the top end of the antenna. When it blows down, it's usually that end that comes down for some reason, so I have to go up there to pull the nylon line down and redo it. So anyway, I've made a nice set of steps to climb up the bank, because she can't get up the bank, especially if it's wet. So now she's got some nice wooden steps from the old decking, and I also made her a planter, and she's going to plant up the corner. So we actually want it to rain to break up the soil a bit. Well, to grow the grass back as well, and so on and so on and so on. But I did that instead of going to the cinema. We were bushed yesterday, Frank, and we sort of, I said to Edwin, do you really want to go to the cinema today? And she looked at me and she said, no, I think we'll give it a miss today. But it's on next week as well, so we'll go one afternoon, I think. But it's a different experience going to the cinema as watching it at home, I think. It's a big screen, and it's there. Well, they've usually got nice audio systems as well, and it can be a shared experience. Although the last time we went to the cinema, there were only about half a dozen in the whole living room, because of course there's about 9 different screens now. So it's not a huge screen; it's a big screen rather than a huge screen.
Yeah, I think that's what most cinemas are nowadays. They've gone away from the massive auditorium, haven't they, with a massive screen made. I think there are, in Plymouth, I think there are 6 or something, medium-sized viewing rooms, or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, it looks like a good film, and I will probably see it sometime, but unless Angela probably wants to go with one of her friends to see it rather than me, so I'll let her do that, so I'll be quite content to wait a bit. I was going to say something then, but I forgot what it was now. It's completely gone, Peter.
Yeah, I have the same issue. The last we went, there was actually some sort of it's like a low rumble on their audio. I'm trying to think. Oh, you went to watch the Prime Minister. That was what we watched. Winston Churchill, and that was quite good. Well, no, I really, really enjoyed that film, I must say. But I'll take her along. It's only about less than a couple of hours, and it'll be a nice afternoon out. And she can't accuse me of never taking her out either.
Yeah, well, I guess as well. In fact, I get quite a bit of stick sometimes for doing even a little bit of amateur radio. She just does not get amateur radio. Doesn't see the point of it. Thinks it's antisocial. Just hates it completely. So I've got to be very careful, Peter.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I do enjoy going out occasionally, but if she blathers on about it, then I tend to dig my heels in. I'm quite content. I've got so many things to do at home, around the house, and with the hobbies and stuff like that. But I don't have to go anywhere. But I think ladies are different to men, and they get itchy bottoms. They have to go shopping at least once a day. I think Edwin loves to go shopping, but she'll go off to Tesco's. And I might not see her for 2 or 3 hours. And she comes back and she's bought bread and cheese and eggs and milk. And I think, well, I could have done that in 10 minutes. Which is true. But I never say anything. Well, I try not to. But anyway, we had a nice day out we had a lovely day out on Wednesday. And so I think we'll just have another day out, another afternoon out, going to the cinema. But I get a bit the same if I do too much radio. But you can always find something to do, can't you?
Well, I don't think I do too much radio. I'm just sitting here all day, just an hour or so in the morning, and then maybe a bit of CWV in the afternoon. That's it. I don't think I can hear a cat howling. I've got him shut out the door at the moment. I suppose I better go and see what he's on about and get my other coffee, etc. It's getting towards that time of the day, isn't it, Peter? But yeah, looks like it's going to be another coolish day today. What's the temp? Oh, 14.8. Yeah, it was decidedly chilly this morning. First thing.
Yes, it was. I haven't been outside. It's too wet. But I did remember to bring my welly boots in and all the tools, because I had my chop saw and my drill and all sorts up at the garden. And I made it in situ. It's a lot easier than back and forth to the garage. But I carried everything around in the wheelbarrow because the chop saw was fairly heavy, and with all the other bits and pieces, there were quite a lot of tools. I did manage to leave a pencil on the lawn, apparently. She was dead. I could tell she was pleased because she went up. She said, I think I'm going to paint it. So she got some of the, I forget what it's called now, one of the paints anyway, the garden paint. And she took the trouble to paint it yesterday before we had any rain. So, yeah, I was quite impressed.
Yeah, I don't really see that happening here. Yeah, well, like you, I don't really see the need to go out particularly, apart from to get the obvious food. And if I go shopping, I'm in and out in 10 minutes like you, but it's a day out, isn't it, for some people? You see the kind of people in the supermarket, they're standing in the aisles, chatting with their friends and things, and it's a kind of social occasion for them, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And they seem to choose the most stupid places to have a talk, usually in the middle of the aisle. Never mind. There was a lot of that going on at the show, but it's obviously a social thing, as you say. Anyway, I'll let you get off and have your coffee, and I might eavesdrop later on as well. But, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So I didn't, yesterday, instead of eavesdropping or listening or talking on the radio, I, of course, went off and did a bit of soldering. So I had a very worthwhile hour. I was going to say I had a much more worthwhile hour, but I thought discretion was a better part of valor then.
Yeah, I suppose so. I'm just looking at my email. I just had one from Dave. It's a forwarded email from Colin M0CU. I think he was quite interested in buying this ACOM amp because he thought I had the new one. But things have changed a bit, so I'll have to reply to that. Anyway, I'll go and get my coffee, Peter. Thanks for the CW and the chat. And if you're on this afternoon, I will see you then.
I'll offer it to him, sell it to him, on condition that you keep her a while, and that'll give you the impetus to have your instant warm-up, solid state, good one.
Yeah, I must have a go with that. The trouble is I get distracted. I've been distracted by this flipping Kent Keynote, but I mean, it won't take me long to get this bass done, and I just love doing a bit of woodwork. I've not done it for a while, and it was quite good yesterday, getting this, trimming this bass to the right shape and size and thickness, and I'm quite looking forward to getting my router out and making some strange patterns on the top of it.
Yeah, I like the router. I think it's great fun. I've got a couple of routers. I've got a 1/4 inch and a 1/2 inch one, and they are absolutely brilliant. I've also got for the big one, I've got some 2-inch routers, just straight routers, actually for doing kitchen worktops, but they're wonderful for squaring up bits of wood and making them exactly the right thickness and stuff like that. I've also got it's a home-brewed router table, and I use that quite a lot, and it's great. It's really good. But I was going to, if I do make a new base for mine, I'll use the router to router out the bottom of the thing as well, to make space for the screws, to be recessed, and also to hold the little bits of wire. I suppose you don't really need to do that. You could make it a very simple, just a line really for the 2 wires that you need. After all, you don't want them on a top, do you?
No, I was thinking about that. I'm not sure. I think I will router out a bit of the bass, but I said earlier on, I don't like in my email, I don't like the hollow sound of the Kent key, and it makes it worse having that steel base on it. So I think I will route out a little bit. My speciality in routing used to be cutting circles, Peter.
Oh, that's clever. You have a gizmo for that?
Yeah, for making loudspeakers, varying diameters. I've made myself a circle gauge cutter. And,
okay. Well, that's a good way of doing that. Of course, you can make the
speakers.
You can always put an angle on the entrance of the cone, can't you? So you can do loads of stuff with routers. I think they're great. I might be going down to Lidl's today. They've got a couple of interesting items, including
takes your mind off
a crimping set. I fancy I've got a very simple, pressed steel one, but this is more like a proper one. And it's only about 7 or 8 quid, so I might go down and buy one later on.
Sorry, Peter, I think a double there. Were you talking about a router table?
I was originally, yes. I made a router table. They are very good, but sorry about doubling. There we go. I'll let you go, Frank, and have your coffee. I'm going to go have my cup of tea and face the day.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my noise level then. You mentioned yours earlier on, but mine's about between 5 and 6 at the moment, so not terribly good. Anyway, okay, I'll get my coffee and see you a bit later on, Peter.
Yeah, okay. Mine's going. It's 5 and it's dropping down to 4 occasionally, so similar. But it's QRN. It's definitely background hit. It must be Jupiter. Yeah, it must be Jupiter with all that emissions there. Anyway, I enjoyed the chat this morning on CW and enjoy your day. I'll speak to you later, Frank.
Yeah, okay, Peter. Just switch to AM and listen, and if there's a buzz, it ain't Jupiter, it's switch mode power supply. Cheers, Peter from G0GSR.
Hang on. That's me on AM. Can you hear me on AM, Frank?
Yeah, of course I can. Do you want me to reply on AM as well?
Well, I can't understand you in FSB, but I know you were there. And his has dropped down, so I don't have switch mode power supply, but I do have AM.
Right, well that's AM. That's AM from me. You copy my AM?
Oh, you've gone really down. I can hear you. I quickly switched back up to FSB, but I've gone back down to AM again. So that is how many willy-watts is that? I don't know. That's I'll turn this willy-watts up. Hang on. I've got to press that button. Hang on, come here, you bee.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good.
No, that's the little KX3, because it's not really AM, is it? But it's good enough.
Increase power a tiny bit.
I can't remember.
Power was a little bit low. Right, that's back up to about 100 watt carrier, Peter.
Big knob. And that's 10 watts out, and that gives me... Ooh.
The sky. I don't seem to raise them not to... And but he does a little.
Seems to be a lot of traffic going through it, I think.
The road was wet, not very wet, but it was wet. And I was on my way to the kitchen. Now the lounge is at the front of the bungalow, the kitchen's at the back. And I walked to the back of the bungalow and looked out the window, and it was dry. So we had rain at the front of the bungalow yesterday evening, and none of the back, Royce.
That was our first day in contact run.
Yeah, probably the last as well, Peter.
I doubt it. We could use FM as well, couldn't we?
No reason why not. Use a bit more power then.
Oh, well, I'll try that sometime.
Yeah. Cheers, Peter. G0GSR.
Daniel au pluriel, Michel, Bernard, et puis...
Rig on, then I had to pop out again. She's busily doing the bathroom, so she'll be...
Where the hell is it? Must be here somewhere. How many coils there are, turns there on the...
Gone back again just in the last, while these overs have been going on, so...
White, fluffy dog, nice. God, did he jump about when it went to go into the mud and bullets. Oh, flipping heck, I'll nudge my mate, and we just laugh, because he half the time he forgets. Then he has a right rollicking when he gets back. There you are, mate. You can't tell him.
I'll tell you what, there was a lot of lovely blackberries.
About, you think, oh dear, lovely. Didn't I have some blackberries picked off the trees and were on the walk? Lovely it were, mate. Yeah. Well, you're overfeeding the old dog then, are you, Frank?
Well, I don't think...
It's a big task. Folder, so I go in and have a look. I don't know why it's all going in there now. I think it's something to do with the fact that the mailbox people have been mussing about with it. They keep telling me how wonderful their new mailbox is and would I like to try it with all these bells and whistles. And I keep saying no, I'd rather stay with the sort of condition with the sort of mailbox I've got, the so-called classic. But I reckon eventually they could pull the plug on that and force me into into a more involved setup. This is the trouble, isn't it? They can't be. In order to justify their existence, they have to keep fiddling with things and making them more and more complicated, more and more bells and whistles, most of which you don't need. Well, I don't anyway. But to get these characters who are obsessed with their websites and God knows what else, and I suppose they have to justify their existence by coming up with new things all the time. Ah well, there we are. Right, let's put it round to you then, Michael. With a pause in case Dudley's with us. This is Golf 3, X-ray, my Mike.
Nothing heard here, Tom.
No, nothing here either.
Yeah, okay, fine. From G3TV. Oh, congratulations, Ronald. I've got to wait another couple of months till my next turn to go on the coil. But anyway, once you get past a certain number, you don't worry too much. It just comes round far too quickly. The HF is pretty poor at the moment. There is the odd occasion. The other night I was listening quite late on, and there were a couple of PYs chatting to each other on 20 metres, but I didn't bother to call them. I couldn't be bothered to tune the PA up. And 2 metres, well, Giles goes up and down with me. Sometimes he's a good signal, other times he's not. I think it's just a question of, I think probably wet leaves or something could be the answer. My signal's got to go through Cranham Woods and places like that, and if it's wet weather, it might attenuate it. But certainly the PA, the actual rig is working perfectly okay now. Thank you for the forecast, Ron. Comes in very useful, that. I don't suppose the WAE contest will be particularly good this year. It only worked DX, and there ain't going to be that much DX around. But last night, Brian and I, we were on 20 around about 5:30 local time. 5, 6 to 7 both ways, so can't complain at that. I think I got the linear sorted now. Certainly the voltage isn't as high as before, but I can still get 400 watts out on this band, so not too bad. Well, I get 400 watts on all bands up to 20 metres, and about 350 on 15. And 15 and higher I'm not going to worry about at the moment, because I don't think they're going to be much good. G3SZS with the group, G3TV.
Yeah, okay, Mike. Still no sign of Dudley. Never mind. Yeah, if it's a bit chilly there, he might have second thoughts about going out into his outdoor shack there, which is, I think he's got heating in there, but I don't know whether he fancies putting it on. But anyway, there we are. He has mentioned it in the past. Yeah, well, as I say, not too much to add today. I got, oh gosh, I've forgotten what I was going to say now. Oh, I got some bit of turning some video files into a DVD at the moment, some family stuff. Make a little chronicle, which hopefully, with the addition of some still frames in there, will be interesting from a family point of view. Anyway, I've got most of the material. A lot of it's already loaded onto the PC, ready to go. And then I shall have to do the video editing and then burn the DVD. But I find that quite... I don't do it very often. Used to do it a lot more than I do now. But when I sit down in front of it and start playing, it's I get very deeply into it. I get very engrossed. Mainly trying to remember what the various buttons do. But anyway, there we are. It's interesting, and the results are generally reasonably okay. Well, the last big one I did was a family wedding, actually. I hadn't intended videoing it, but the weather was good. It was up at the Rococo Gardens at Painswick, Tom. And I had my little Nikon hand, the little point and shoot machine, which would do video. It'll do full HD. And the weather was good enough, and I was in a good position. So I shot a load of video, and then put it together in as a sort of a continuous story, with suitable captions where required. And I sent one across to the bride and her husband, and they asked me if they could have 4 more copies for the relatives. So I went into production. G3 X-ray Mike, G3 S&S.
From Golf 3 X-ray Mike, and well, yes, that's you're the expert in these things, Ronald. We know where to come when we want some advice. I've never tried anything like that. I occasionally, I don't do much photography at all these days because for example, when we were up at Cosford the other day, I don't even think I had my camera with me because I go to these places, take photographs, stick them on the computer, and there they sit. And I rarely look at them, and I think, well, probably the time I spend messing about with photographs, it would be better spent actually looking at stuff. In fact, I did take a photograph, didn't I? I took a photograph of that Junkers 88 night fighter. So I must have had a camera with me, but I think that was the only one I took that day. But that was an interesting thing. I had a particular interest because of the book. I wonder how you're getting on with it. I wonder if you managed to plough your way through it. Right, okay, not much more, so I'll push it on round to you, Michael. This is Golf 3 X-ray, Mike.
Yeah, okay, Tom, yeah, I'll have to make this my final. As I say, we're going supermarket shopping this morning, and I have to get my skates on. Yeah, photography, I haven't been doing much photography as such, but I've been involved a lot with photographs. A friend of mine, Mike Fenton, who lives up near Hereford, he's doing a book on the Kempo to Gloucester line. Be 2 volumes of it, and I've been providing him with lots of photographs he wanted. I was here yesterday, we were going through a whole load, and he comes down about once a week, and we have a chat and sort out bits and pieces. He's quite a well-known author. He did a book on the Malmesbury line, and he did a book on the GWR camping coaches. I'm going to twist his arm for a copy. I think he's got some spare ones. That adds to the thing. The other week, there's a very good second-hand bookshop in Brimscombe now, run by the Canal Trust. Claimed to be now one of the biggest second-hand bookshops in the country. They're open on a Tuesday, a Thursday, and a Saturday. I went there a couple of weeks ago, and I picked up a copy of GWR branch lines in the 1950s. A mint copy for 75 pence, hardback. I also got hold of the Fighter Boys and the Lost Voices of the RAF. The whole lot cost me £1. Well, I gave them a couple of pounds for the lot. And they got loads of books here, almost any subject under the sun. Well worth a visit if you want to buy any second-hand books. And they not only got that, they got DVDs, they got CDs, they've got ordinary LPs and things like that. I got a lot of railway magazines I finished with. I'm going to hand them over to them. They can make a bit more. But it's certainly a very, very good base. It's at the old canal headquarters at Brimscombe. It's all signposted. So if you're over that way, it might be of interest to call in. Anyway, as I say, I'll make this my final. Have a safe journey, Ronald. And the club lunch isn't until the week after next, so I might see you till then. I don't know whether Roger's going to the club meeting next week out on Tuesday when I have a chat with him. All the best then, and over to you, Ronald. G3SZS, G3TEV listening.
Yep, okay, Michael, good copy. The signal started to go down towards the end, but I think that's propagation. It's up and down a bit this morning. the other net on here, well, close to this frequency that I habitually listen to most mornings. This morning they were up and down, S9 plus, and then the next minute hardly readable. Yeah, okay, well there we are. Yeah, I'm interested in the question, that book you lent me, Tom. Yes, I've not finished quite. There's a lot in there, but the stuff that is not of particular interest to me directly, I tend to speed read through it. Just get the gist of it, detail. But when I hit on something that's interesting, then I will study it more closely, you know. But I'm very close to having finished it, and of course, it's particularly intrigued with the story of the aircraft that we saw at Cosford. Yeah, well, I think I'm going to have to pull the big switch now. I've got quite a few things to do before I start my journey down to South Wales. I don't mind if it rains, but by the look of the forecast, it'll be wet when I'm down there too, probably until mid-afternoon. So I might have a dry journey back, possibly. That new bypass, I say new, relatively new bypass they've got around Newport. It's been there for several years now. A couple of years ago they turned it into a smart motorway, you know, where they put up these variable speed limits at times, and they adjust the speed limit as the day goes by, and based on traffic volume. But the first year they had it operated, it was a complete disaster, really, because before they started using this control system, although you might have to slow down a bit coming through around the bypass occasionally, you never stopped. As soon as he switched this blessed system on, it would stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. So I started coming back up. I was going to say bypassing the bypass by going through the centre of Newport, and got through a lot quicker. But I must admit, the last couple of times I've been down that way and risked the bypass on Friday afternoon, they seem to have got their act in order, I think. I did think at one time, because the system they got working around the M25 seems to work very well indeed, I had it in mind at one time to write to the Bristol people and say, go and study what they do on the M25 and then come back and get it right. Anyway, there we are, Tom. I must admit that some of the control systems they put in are more of a nuisance than a benefit, really. Right. Enough of that, eh? Mustn't be getting too controversial this morning. Have I got anything else written down? No, nothing of any consequence. So I'll sign on the next overtop. Sounds like Michael's gone. Haven't heard Leslie this morning. Got me tongue in a twist now. I don't know quite why that would be. Maybe he can't hear us, but we've had a couple of reasonable breaks between overs that he would normally have jumped in now. But anyway, there we are. So I'll sign next time. But as soon as I finish with that book, Tom, I'll get it back to you. And I don't think there's anything else to add, really. Oh, and I'll let you know what this gentleman today plays. You might be interested. G3 X-ray Mike, G3 SOS.
Fine, Ron, yes, this is Golf 3 X-ray Mike. There was no hurry in the book. Read it at your leisure, and can be handed back sometime when we meet it. I'm not in any hurry to get it back. Would like it eventually, of course, because it's quite an interesting account of what went on, as you say. And it does dot about, it's a sort of overview, isn't it? It dots into various parts of the story. And the thing that amused me was that the attempt to keep it secret. half the population of Dice were there, and surrounding villages and towns to watch this thing go in. And I found some of the letters that they had to censor quite amusing. And the station commander lost his job, didn't he, because of it? It wasn't really his fault. You couldn't really blame the man. But he got posted off somewhere else as a supernumerary, which meant they didn't know what to do with him. So, but it's an intriguing story altogether. And yeah, find about Cardiff today. Yeah, I'd be interested to just to see what you were listening. A lot of the organ music, it tends to be a bit specialist, and I don't know it too well. But occasionally you get transcriptions of other things which originally scored for orchestra, and finish up with a transcription for organ, and that's always quite interesting to see. So that's about it, really, I suppose. Won't be too long now before we're back at club, I suppose, will it? But is it?
Because she said, "Don't worry, Mr. Thomas, you are now on the radar."
It's just a doctor the numbers really. Accident at the where you looked at before, Tony, the multiverse on that road. Yes, oh yeah, definitely.
With G3RK, Q-G3XLS.
I think there's no sort of obvious receptacle that build that much. That's doing quite well, so that's alright. Right, come on then. Right, you briefly look at a time for the morning game.
Okay, well, from the painting thing, I bought some paint. I know I had a conversation before about paint stripper, and I bought some paint stripper the other day, which was reported to be industrial strength, but it was useless on this KW case. So maybe I bought the wrong stuff. So I'll have to watch out for that Stark end stuff next time. But the stuff that I bought just didn't touch the paint on this case at all, so I had to get it. So that's why I take it to a professional stripping place. So we'll see how we go on with that. So I've got to go down there later on and pick it up. Nothing else to report. You mentioned driver transformers, Mike. You're listening to one now, actually. This modulator has a driver transformer for the EL34s, and it's one that's sold by that American company. It's made by Hammond, and it's sort of driver matching transformer. It's quite high impedance. I can't remember it's a 3-to-1 ratio or 1-to-3 ratio, and it's designed to drive push-pull valve amplifiers, so you get very good, exactly 180 and good balance and everything. And you can get those from the antique wireless people in America. Although I think that company Bluebell Audio, they would probably sell it as well. But it's a Hammond-made thing. It's a very good little transformer. I've used several of them actually in my transmitters, rather than make a phase splitter. And of course it steps up a little bit as well, so you get a little bit more drive. But there we are. Anyway, I'll better carry on. I've got quite a few things to do today. So I'll perhaps make it this my final. But anyway, nice to catch you guys on this morning. Good signals actually. Two lovely strong signals there to listen to.
Rain here at the moment. Tremendous amount of rain we've had during the evening. It's certainly coming up cold.
I know they've been broken up for about a week and a half now, but I think we've gone back to our traditional summers, Dickie, over.
Yeah, it looks a bit like it, Mum. We haven't had much rain here. About 6 o'clock this morning, it lashed it down. If it had hung on, we'd have been flooded. But it really heaved it down for about 30 seconds, and then that was it.
Yeah, Roger. Yeah, much the same. Well, it's still raining here at the moment now. I'm hoping it will clear up. Hope so. We got the grandkids coming down at the weekend Sunday. They're down for not for long, but for 4 or 5 days. And I'm hoping it'll be good weather then, so we can get down on the beach. Anyway, I won't hold it. Once again, George, thanks for the pictures.
Very, very kind, and have a really lovely day. And then also to you, Dickie. And I'll catch you later on. G4 and LH going clear. Bye-bye, both.
Bye-bye, Jed. Take care.
It's 73, Dave.
Well, the sun's beginning to shine here. We could do with a bit of rain.
Yeah, we just had a lash down about 6 o'clock this morning, just for about 30 seconds or so, and that was it. It really hammered on the roof. You can hear it in a caravan, of course. It hammered on the roof, and that was it, you know. It really chucked it down for those few seconds, but it hasn't even... It's laid the dust. That's about all you can say for it, George.
Yeah, it reminds me of when we were in Ghana. The house we had there that we were renting, it had a very large corrugated iron roof. Not an awful lot of insulation between the corrugated and main doors. And when some of the larger birds used to land on there, they used it like a runway. You could hear them land and then run across the roof again.
Oh, we get the same effect here. It's not quite so noisy in this caravan because it's better insulated and it's not a smooth roof. But it's these imitation pan tiles. But yeah, you can hear them drop onto the roof, and some of the bigger birds, like the big crows that we've got here and the seagulls, you'd think they were wearing hobnail boots.
We used to, Betty and I used to say, oh, it's the landing strip. They've just landed for refueling.
Yeah, it used to be a bit like that on an aircraft carrier, George.
Yeah, very much so. Okay, I'm pure flying 3736.
Cheers, thanks for the pictures, George. 73 for now. Enjoy your birthday.
Yeah, well, I hope so. Yeah, I'm not going to do anything plastic, but we might go and do something.
Well, by the time you get to 83, you tend to get used to birthdays. They're a bit of a non-event, aren't they?
Well, it's just another day on the calendar, isn't it, Dickie? It's like somebody saying to me, well, we're doing it the weekend. I says, every day's a weekend.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it, George? You get to our end, our time of life, and Christmas tends to be Sunday with presents, doesn't it?
Oh, there's my phone.
73, George. Take care.
Pass it back to you, Tom. M6NER, G4LFU.
Okay, Gordon and Sonia, no problem there. Yeah, good signals from you both. So, yeah, I don't know who the tuner is. Might be Bob on the side there. So, there we go. It might even be Darren tuning up. Who knows? Right, okay. Well, without further ado, we'll pass it round to Doc, bring him in, and we'll put all good signals